Hello and welcome to the Red Jacket Club. My name is Andy. I'm here with my friend Brendan, and this is where we talk Cardinals baseball. Today is Sunday, March 12th, and we are shooting episode 20 of the Red Jacket Club. We're going to do a little bit of a schedule preview. A couple of the topics that we're going to be covering today, we're going to give a quick spring training update. The WBC is well underway, so we're going to kind of update that a little bit as well. And then we will go into talking about the schedule, things that happened last year compared to what might happen this year, and all that good stuff. But before we jump into that, I just want to ask if this is your first time coming to the channel, please consider subscribing. We're doing this hopefully twice a week here as the season starts going. We're going to be recapping every series and sharing our thoughts as far as the Cardinals and different things around the club. But before we get into our different topics today, Brendan, how you doing? It's been a week now since we last recorded, so what's been going on?
I mean, baseball season is well underway, like you said, even though it's not the regular season yet, but the WBC is a really good time. Spring training is going really well, even though the WBC is kind of overshadowing that, which we'll go over that in a little bit. But I love these Sunday morning episodes. I got my coffee, I'm ready to go. Got some good sleep and stuff. So yeah, Sunday morning episodes are probably my favorite, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah, I like them too. I wish that the Sunday day games or sometimes Sunday night games were Sunday morning games, so that we could do like a mid morning episode, get things over with for the day
Yeah.
or for the week, and we'll stick to Mondays and see how that goes. But I'm excited too. I'm glad that I guess it's not playoff baseball, but competitive baseball is here. The game last night was really cool to watch. Team Cardinals basically carry Team USA,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and then City again. They're 3-0, which is insane. I heard last night on the broadcast that no expansion team has ever gone 4-0, so they have an opportunity to make history there. Um, it's been good for St. Louis sports, and as a St. Louis sports fan, you
Besides the
can
Blues.
can never
Yeah.
be happier. Yeah,
Even though they
I
did pull out the win last night, so
did
I don't
they.
know. I guess yeah. So yeah, we're looking pretty good then. Yeah, last night was a good night for St. Louis sports.
Cool, cool. Alrighty. Well, speaking of St. Louis sports, let's talk about some Cardinals news. There are just a couple of things that I noticed, or really maybe one major thing that came out of spring training camp this week, and that was Ali Marmol talking about the backup catcher position. I know it's the hottest competition in the streets besides Jordan Walker trying to make the opening day roster, but the news to come out of camp is the backup catcher position is up for grabs. and and so what it sounded like is because Wilson Contreras may not always be the catcher in our lineup, kind of like we saw him with the Cubs. He may DH a lot more than just catching. Ali Marmol was saying we're going to need more out of our backup catcher, and so that kind of put some spotlights on Andrew Kisner. He's not having the greatest spring. He's in the lineup today against the Nationals as the catcher. But I always see him as he's a very good catcher. He's good behind the plate and can communicate well with the pitchers and everything. But apparently, they're obviously going to need some more offense out of that position. So they're apparently eyeing Trace Barrera, but he's not really having a great offensive spring training either. So that's just really the interesting part about this is the backup catcher position has never really been a focus of being like an offensive position. It's just the guy who can give your other guy an off day. And so now that we're needing to, or now that the Cardinals are needing more offense when the main catcher is not there, it's kind of interesting that now the biggest again competition in the streets is for that backup spot. So I don't know what's going to come out of that. I feel like Andrew Kisner's probably fine, being that Trace Barrera. The last time I saw he was hitting like below 110 this spring, so I don't think that that's going to be an issue. But apparently they were really liking what they saw out of him for whatever reason, whether it's
Yeah.
like a clubhouse manner or something like that. But that's just what I
Yes.
saw.
So yeah, when Trace Barrera signed with the Cardinals originally, I think I mentioned on the podcast because it was a very minor transaction that no one really thought of, and I mentioned that most likely he's just going to act as the backup catcher to Ivan Herrera in AAA, which that's still a pretty good possibility. However, when you look at the numbers compared to each other in spring, Andrew Kisner's 1 for 15, so that's obviously terrible.
Hmm.
But as a backup catcher, it's like, what do how do you, I don't know. It's still really bad, but he is a backup catcher. What can you expect? Even though I did read an article that said that Kisner was highly rated for his bat all throughout his minor leagues. So I guess he was kind of expected to be that bat off the bench, maybe in late games and stuff. And then Trace Barrera, he only has one hit as well, but he has 6 at-bats, and that one hit was a home run. So that helps his case a little bit. Obviously, not a lot. I mean, I remember that home run. It was a hanging curveball that just about anyone should be able to put over the fence, but I don't know. We got to get more sample size out of Trace Barrera before making that decision. But all in all, it's kind of a boring conversation. Who's going to win the backup catcher spot? And I don't know. I do see Contreras fitting into that DH some days, obviously, because I know he did that for the Cubs, and he's not like a glove first catcher. But
Hmm.
I don't know. Whoever gets that backup job, I don't think it's really going to affect the team too much.
I don't disagree, but at the same time, it is interesting that that's the focal point of that discussion of Contreras not playing every day behind the plate. That they're going to want somebody who they believe will give them more a possibility of better at bats. And I don't know. I think it would come from Kisner before it would come from Barrera. I think it would come from Herrera before it would come from either of them. But
Yeah.
I guess they're still thinking that he's not ready or whatever. So.
I think they probably just want to get Herrera reps, as many reps as possible, until maybe Contreras will fit into that DH role more than they thought, kind of thing.
Hmm.
It really just depends on how Contreras holds up behind the plate, how they like his defense, because Herrera could totally take over that job, and then Contreras could just be a DH. But that's gonna, that's just like seeing how the season shakes out. You
Right.
can't really predict the future there.
Right. Yeah, and so since that was our only real Cardinals news, because camp is still just underway, nothing really is changing because most of the guys that are not interesting to talk about, but the big superstars are over in the WBC. Why don't we move on, Brendan, to the quick spring training update, and let's talk about some of the guys and how they're doing.
Yeah, so here what I did is just sort by at bats. I'm gonna mention Jordan Walker when we get to our segment, but real quick, the guys who have been really impressive so far. Brendan Donovan continues to hit home runs. He's got 4, which is the most on the team for the spring. He's currently hitting 310 with a 1 OPS, so he's still doing his thing. Nolan Gorman is still doing his thing as well, that mid 800s OPS, which is exactly what I want to see from him, to be honest. I mean, that's if he continues that mid 800s type thing, hit a couple home runs here and there. I love it. I think he can be really solid for us this year. Another guy that's super impressive is Mason Wynn. He's got a 381 batting average and he's got a 1.1 OPS. So he continues to go off. He has 2 home runs this spring. Who else we got here? Obviously, I mean, Arenado, and then we can mention in a little bit what Arenado did last night.
Hmm.
Um, DeYoung has an 883 OPS. Take that as you will. He only has 2 hits out of 13 at bats,
I
so
was going to say, yeah.
yeah, nothing really there to be honest. But I was just looking at OPS numbers. Other than that, that's kind of all the guys that are really impressive right now. Juan Yepez is just kind of in that middle line, which I'm not expecting too much from him. He's going to be that consistent guy for us.
Hmm.
Moises Gomez has kind of fallen off a little bit. I mean, he's still hitting 280. His batting average is 280, but He has a 693 OPS, so that pop that we saw from last year, the 39 home runs in minor leagues, he hasn't shown that in spring training at all. Actually, he doesn't have any home runs, so that's something to watch. Dylan Carlson is there, 769 OPS. I mean, that's whatever, very average. We
Mm-hmm.
don't know what we're getting from him yet. Burleson hasn't been great. He's 4 for 20. And that's kind of all I have that's significant. I guess Contreras, he's 4 for 16. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, other than that's kind of all I've. That's all the updates that really are important, I would say.
Yeah, I know. And I guess to talk about just some of the guys that have really impressed me, obviously Brendan Donovan, he's found some kind of crazy power that is really cool. I saw, and I've made this comparison before also, somebody say recently that the if he brings this power into the season, I mean, we just have another Matt Carpenter on our hands. This guy works
That's kind of
account
scary though.
a good Matt Carpenter.
A 2013 Matt
A
Carpenter, I'd take it.
2018 Matt Carpenter, I think, is when he was making his MVP run.
Okay, I'll take that.
But I mean, that's what I'm saying though. Is this guy? He's from the left side of the plate. He's got power now, apparently, and he's a great contact and count. He can work a count like any other non second year baseball player. So I mean, that's if the power continues, that's going to be really awesome for the Cardinals. And then the other guy, Mason Wynn. If Tommy Edman wasn't on the team and we were like, what do we do for shortstop? This guy has completely answered the question. I mean, like, I've been blown away by this guy. And it's really cool that we have three guys that are in the top four, I think, for OPS in spring training. And one of those other guys is, I think, Pete Alonso. So when you have some of your younger guys going up there with one of the best power hitters in the game right now, I mean, that's all that you can ask for.
hmm Yeah, and he's kind of another situation. He's in a similar situation to Walker. Obviously, he's not as highly touted of a prospect as Walker, even though he is our number 2 prospect. So he's definitely up there. He's up there in all the lists. I think like top 50 prospects in the whole league. So he really is a guy to watch. And he, what's going to happen with him for sure is he will start at AAA because we don't really have a need at shortstop right now, which is kind of unfortunate. I mean, we'll love to see him within the next couple of years, but he'll definitely have to prove himself at AAA. He'll probably spend all season there, but then again, I mean, injuries happen, so at some point we could see Mason Wynn up.
Yeah. Awesome. And so we've talked around him a whole lot. I think we just need to start talking about him in general. We know that he is a big topic of discussion, and he's shown that he is actually human based on some of the news that came out of camp yesterday. But for now, we're going to talk about Jordan Walker in our news segment that we're going to call Jordan Walker Watch.
Yeah, Jordan Walker has continued to impress. I mean, he's 14 for 33. He has the most at bats in our spring training, which means Ali Marmol is just putting him out there every single day, putting him in stressful situations. So I don't know if I mentioned it on the podcast last time, but I love what Marmol is doing. He's putting him in the 3-hole. He's putting him in the leadoff spot, in the 2-hole, all over the lineup, because a true superstar will produce wherever he hits in the lineup. So I love what Marmol is doing, and he loves it, man. And all these clips of him coming out in these interviews, he just a very mature guy, and we love to see it. So my date that I'm putting on it right now is May 31st. That's when I see Walker coming up. What do you think? Is he making this opening day roster or what?
I don't know. I mean, we're talking small sample sizes again. Like, it looks like O'Neill only has 14 at bats, but I mean, he's hitting 143 and his OPS is 464 in those 14 at bats. Nobody's matching what this guy's doing. So I'm thinking that there's a good chance that we might be wrong on this. We've been saying since the beginning of this podcast that Jordan Walker needs to prove himself in AAA. Well, I watched him play against the Yankees, and he jumped first pitch fastball off of Garrett Cole. And if you got a guy who's 20 years old and is doing that, I
You
don't
have the
know.
you have the confidence to go
Yeah,
after a Garrett Cole fastball. That's pretty impressive as a
yeah.
20-year-old, sure.
And so I don't know. I think that it's going to be earlier. I would be still surprised if it's opening day with all the questions that are still unanswered with that outfield, but I think that it could be like mid-April probably, or hell, even opening day. Like he's definitely shown that he has the stuff and the confidence in order to play at the major league level and just completely skip AAA.
Yeah, you totally could, and that's what some of the best prospects do. Just a little worried, obviously. I'm still gonna be, and until it happens, until he does come up and he is the guy, then I'm just gonna be worried the whole time. I'm nervous. I just don't want a prospect to flop.
Right.
That's all I'm saying.
Well, and part of those nerves and part of me saying that he is human is that he was pulled from yesterday's game. Um, he had a right shoulder strain. They marked him as day to day, but this comes after a couple of headfirst slides, I think is what they were saying the problem was. He slid into second yesterday and kind of stayed at the bag for a little bit. And I just when I saw the image and then the play of him sliding at home that one game, yeah, he is 20 years old, and I'm sure he'll be able to bounce back. But I mean, this guy gets like 3 feet off the ground when he goes to slide,
I know.
and
I saw that picture.
I'm like, it's all well and good. Like if you're safe, you're safe, but this he's gonna hurt himself, and
Yeah.
and so it seems as though that may be the case when it comes to his head first slides. I mean, I hope that I mean, they got some of I mean, Willie McGee, I'm sure he could teach him how to slide, but
Yeah.
I don't know. That kind of scared me when I saw that image and that the Cardinals put out there. But they said that he's day to day. He was due for an off day anyway today, and then the Cardinals are off tomorrow anyway. So they're hoping that by Tuesday he could be back in the lineup.
Yeah, everything I saw seems like it's pretty minor, so I don't think we're too worried about it, but I do think they're gonna have a conversation, be like, "Hey, man, you can slide feet first. Like we appreciate the drive, we appreciate the hustle, but maybe just kind of go in feet first, unless you absolutely have to go head first." So
Yeah. Well, I guess with that, we can start talking a little bit about the WBC. I can run through the pool standings as they are right now. I'm sure that there might be a couple of games going on in either Taiwan or Tokyo at the moment, but haven't paid attention to that this morning. Um, but Cuba is um, Cuba is in first of the Pool A bracket with Italy right behind it, then the Netherlands, Panama, and Chinese Taipei. All of those guys have 2 wins and 2 losses, which is crazy. Japan is just running away with this in Pool B. Australia is giving a good fight. The one to notice there is Korea. Korea is 1-2 behind the 9-5 team of the Czech Republic. Colombia is leading Pool C right next to Team USA. That Colombia Mexico game yesterday was really exciting. A lot of energy there. And then Team USA obviously brought out the win thanks to a lot of the Cardinals. And then Puerto Rico and Venezuela are at the top of their brackets after beating Nicaragua and the Dominican Republic in an upset. Venezuela won there. So Team Canada and Israel are going to get their first games in today, and we can talk, I guess, mainly about Team USA since that's where most of the Cardinals are. Um, I don't know if you were able to watch that game last night, Brendan, but it wasn't all too exciting. I still some of my fears about Adam Wainwright are alive after watching him pitch, mainly because they played against a not so great Great Britain team. Most of the offense came from Trace Thompson, who we mentioned before. He's on the Dodgers, and he was really their only like big claim to fame, big ticket guy from a current MLB team. And of course, he was able to handle Adam Wainwright just fine because Wainwright spun up a hanging curveball, and Thompson took it way out of the park. So I still have some concerns based on Adam's velocity there and his ability to use the curveball if he is running out of gas. And then, I mean, you can't talk about anything else when it comes to offense other than Nolan Arenado and Paul Goldschmidt. Those guys were knocking people in and doing their thing all night. And I guess you could talk about Kyle Schwarber, but I don't really like Kyle Schwarber, although that home run was really cool. So yeah, WBC is well underway, and I think we're on to a good start with Team USA.
Yeah, real quick because we still do have to talk about schedule and some of the bets that we like about this year. The only takeaways I had from last night is kind of like you said. I wouldn't say that Wayno looks like himself just yet. Still a little bit of struggles there, even though Trace Thompson does have that ability to hit the long ball. So I'm not too worried about it, but still, regardless, he gave up a few runs against a not a great offense. And then Arenado went 3 for 5 with what, two doubles or yeah, two
Two
doubles last
doubles.
night.
Yeah.
So I mean, he just went off. Goldschmidt 1 for 3 with 3 runs scored. I just love that we're representing the middle of the best lineup we may have ever seen in the World Baseball Classic. Just a really cool thing. And then other than that, oh yeah, really quick, I underestimated so many teams. I want to say that the USA is not going to have an easy walk into the finals. Like these teams, Japan is incredible. They're going to throw Shohei Ohtani in the championship, and then whatever happens, happens. They
Hmm.
have Yu Darvish as well, so they could just piggyback off each other there. So, I mean, Japan's solid. Puerto Rico, I mean, we play Mexico today. They're a really good team. So I underestimated so many teams in the World
Hmm.
Baseball Classic. Um, but
You,
I don't know.
you
It is fun.
underestimated the Czech Republic too.
They squeezed out a win, and the 79-mile-an-hour fastball got Shohei Ohtani from the one of the 9 to 5 guys.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool.
Yep.
But let's get into our big topic for today. So today we're going to run through just some of the things that I noticed based on the current um, schedule that is out there for the Cardinals compared to the 2022 schedule. There are some differences, obviously, due to balanced schedules this year, and then just go from there. So last year, the Cardinals ended up 93-69, which Baseball Reference has a Pythagorean win-loss record, which is just a win-loss record based off the runs scored and allowed by a team, and that record was 95-67. So they lost 2 games than apparently they should have, which is not a bad place to sit in. So we did really well with the schedule that we had. And going into 2023, there are some changes, like I mentioned, but still talking about last year, we played a lot of games against teams under 500. We played 90 games against teams under 500, and that's obviously where a lot of our games won came from. We had 59-31 as a record there. And so part of the reason I bring this up, and I guess I could talk about the teams against that we played over 500, and that was 72 games, and we were 34-38. Um, the reason I bring this up is because we have moved to a schedule where we are playing more playoff contenders. Um, and that being said, a lot of people have questions on whether or not the Cardinals are going to be able to face these guys, these other teams, and how well are they going to be against them. Well, when you look at some of these records last year, obviously one of the biggest series of the season was that the Yankees went they lost 3 games to the Cardinals in St. Louis. It was one of the most watched series, I think, in terms of channel views last year. But then we played the Padres, and we went 4-2 on the Padres. But the rest of these teams we either didn't play or we had losing records, not by much, but by some. So I just have a couple of concerns, hoping that the one big change this offseason will get us to where we need to go, meaning Wilson Contreras. His bat obviously brings a lot, but it just looks like this year there are less games against teams under 500, which obviously means that we aren't playing as many teams that are worse than us. And then there are more games, meaning we play the Astros, the Guardians, and the Mariners this year for at least 3 games. And I'm just a little concerned that not seeing that talent last year and then going into this year, that it could not bode well for the Cardinals in terms of just there are some glaring holes in the pitching line, pitching rotation, and other things like that.
Yeah, so I'm gonna kind of tie in like what we're gonna go into in a little bit with this. So, like you said, the Cardinals finished with a 93 and 69 record, and I think the schedule had a lot to play in that because Vegas says that the over under on the wins for the Cardinals next season and this season is 88 and a half. So that's 5 games less than they won in 2022, and I really got to think that that has to be about that number has to be made based off the schedule because, um, we did get better. We signed an offensive catcher, and I guess we didn't really bolster the rotation like, we kind of hoped, but I think we'll be okay since we have the depth there. So that over-under number has to take an effect. All these teams that we're going to play, like all these above 500 teams and playoff contender teams. And I don't know. I mean, I would still take the over. I mean, I just believe in the Cardinals, obviously, but I don't know. I mean, 88 and a half, I don't see why we wouldn't finish over that, but playing
Mm-hmm.
these better teams might be a little sketchy. I'm not sure.
Yeah. And the other thing that kind of stinks is now we have less games in the NL Central. And we can talk about how the Cardinals are so good, and we, like you said, we do believe that, but we do play against some of the worst teams in baseball. Last year, we played 13 games against the Pirates, 13 games against the Reds, and 13 games against the Cubs. And I mean, if that doesn't help you out to win a division, I don't know what will.
Yeah, we
Um,
do have one of the worst divisions. I think the AL Central is probably the worst. But if we were in like the NL East or the AL East or like any of those or even
mhm,
the NL West, like yeah, that's where it gets a little tricky. We are the best of one of the worst divisions. So
mhm.
yeah, it is a little weird. It's kind of hard to gauge where we're at because in our division, we know that most likely we can say with a lot of confidence that we will win the division. But like, what's that really saying when we
Mhm.
are in one of the worst divisions in the league?
Right. And and part of the good thing of the balanced schedule is we do get at least a series against some of those other subpar teams. But when it comes to those playoff contenders last year, like I mentioned, we didn't play the Guardians, we didn't play the Astros, and we didn't play the Mariners. And so those games got shuffled around now. And so to talk about the playoff contenders from 2022 that we play in 2023, the Yankees, we play a series. The Guardians, we have a series of 3 games. Astros, we have 3 games. The Braves, last year we had 7 games. Now we have 6 games. So one of those games went somewhere. The Mets, we play 7 games, which is one of the ones that concerns me a little bit. Um, the Phillies, we play 6 games against them. The Dodgers, we play 7 games. The Padres, we play 6 games. The Mariners, we play 3. Blue Jays, we play 3 at the top of the season. And then the Rays, we play 3. So um, there are some of those teams that I'm less concerned than others, but still, I mean, the Yankees, they got better even though some of their pitching's hurt. Um, the Astros are just continuing to be the Astros. The Braves, they have great pitching. The Mets just have everybody on their team now. And the Phillies, they got better too. So like, and I would argue that they had better off seasons than the Cardinals. Now, some of these games are throughout the season; they're at different parts of the season. So, who knows where the schedule will be or where both teams will be? by the time they meet up. But at the same time, these are some really good teams that we're going to have to try and prove sometimes for two sets of three games that we're better than them compared to our 19-43 playoff contender record last year.
Yeah, the main thing I'm looking at now that you pointed it out, so we had 0 games, like you said, against the Guardians, Astros, and Mariners, and then we have a 3-game series with them this year on each of those teams, which makes up 9 total games. So if we just win 1 out of 3 games, I mean, I'm sure we'll do okay against the Guardians, but the Astros and Mariners are some legit teams. So if we were to just go 1-2 in each of those series and then come out, 3-6, then that makes up those 6 losses that we potentially would have had. And then that's where that over under, that's where we finish the season under 90 wins, which would be a huge shock. But playing those teams, it's definitely, it could definitely happen. I wouldn't be crazy surprised if maybe the Astros sweep us or we only take 1 out of the Mariners. Those are some legit teams. So
Yeah. And
it plays a big part.
I can't remember exactly. I'm pretty sure Guardians is away for us. I think Astros are at home, and then I think the Mariners are away, if I remember correctly, but I don't. But that plays in a big factor as well. So, I not to be complete downer, but there are some serious concerns, especially when you're watching Adam Wainwright and he can't hit 90 miles per hour with his fastball or his cutter. Like, if he's our fifth day guy, and I don't know, there are just some questions that are still out there that loom over this team that you can still be very excited for, but you have to kind of face facts at some point and see and try to figure out how we're gonna scratch to that 90 win mark.
Just need those pitchers to step up. We've been saying this whole time, like Steven Matz, he's looked great in spring, which I think he throws again today, so we'll see how he does. Flaherty, well, he pitched yesterday. He looked pretty good. So if those guys are right, and then we got Michaelis, if he just stays himself, we've been saying this the whole time. And then maybe if Liberatore comes up, we just need guys to show up, and that's the thing. I think our offense should be okay, but we gotta have that pitching staff really show up this year.
Well, and one of those other pitchers that's been pitching real well that could show up is Jake Woodford. He's been very good as he went out there 2 nights ago. I can't remember when he was out there against the Mets, though. And he went like 4 innings or so.
Yeah.
And really shut down. I get it was their B team, but still, he pitched very well. So
yeah, he has the most innings actually for us in spring right now with 9, and I can't remember. I closed the tab with the spring training stats, but it came out to like a 1 ERA. So I guess, obviously 1 run he's given up then.
Yeah.
So
right.
Easy math.
Yep. And then Dakota Hudson's still out there with a 1.8 ERA somehow.
There's a chance.
Yeah. There are some guys that could could ring the bell, but we have some figuring out to do before the opening day. But speaking of opening day, what I wanted to do is talk about the 2023 schedule, some of those series that are fun to watch. Did I do? Oh, Easy April. Okay. I thought I had actually put down if we were playing home against the Mariners and Astros and Guardians, but I didn't. What I want to talk about is 2023. One of the big questions is how easy will the start of the season be? And part of that comes into the schedule. We play the Blue Jays, the Braves, the Brewers, the Rockies, the Pirates, the Diamondbacks, the Mariners, which is away, and the Giants and the Dodgers. So we're kind of bookended by some pretty good teams. The Blue Jays and the Braves are very good, and then the Giants have kind of fallen off, but the Dodgers are obviously the Dodgers, and then the Mariners are in there as well. So we have, in terms of playing the Rockies and the Pirates and the D-backs, a pretty good, I guess, couple of games there where we could really bring out some wins and hopefully start off in a hot April. But there are still some other games or on the other ends of that could be a little bit difficult for the Cardinals.
Yeah, it looks like series of three. We have the first three series we open up should be pretty tough. The Blue Jays, the Braves, and the Brewers. We really can't overlook the Brewers, man. They didn't really improve this season or this off season, but they did retool themselves, and they still have one of the better pitching staffs in Woodruff and Burns. And then their bullpen has been decent over the last couple of years. So those three series might be tough, but then you got the Rockies in Colorado, so that's always fun. Then the Pirates and the Diamondbacks. So those three series are where we want to, pad our wins a little bit before the three tough series again in the Mariners, Giants, and Dodgers. So, yeah, I wouldn't even. I don't know. It's not like an easy April for sure, but it's not like a crazy difficult. I'd say it's like medium strength schedule in April, I would say. And it just depends how we play because we can play with the Blue Jays easily. We can play with the Brewers, obviously. We can play with the Giants, the Mariners. Like, it just depends how we come out. How does the team
Mm-hmm.
look right away?
Right. And April sets the tone. So hopefully that they can come out um, all things good and have a decent start to the season. But now I kind of want to get into some happy talk, I guess, about some of the notable series that will be coming to Busch Stadium in 2023, along with other things that I noticed about the schedule. So opening day is obviously March 30th. We play the Blue Jays, and that's exciting. Hopefully, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is healthy for that. Even though he may match a couple of home runs, you get to see one of the better home run hitters hit a couple of home runs. One of the bigger ones is May 2nd, and that's when the Angels come to town. So May 2nd through the 4th, Otani and Trout will be in St. Louis. I'm pretty sure it's the first time since 2019, also, um, when Albert finally came back to St. Louis. So that's pretty cool. The Tigers come to town for their 3 game set that we play against them. That's May 5th through the 7th, so right after the Angels. And it's just Miguel Cabrera's last season. So just like we went through with Albert, the Tigers are going through with Miguel Cabrera. He's been their guy since the mid 2000s, maybe, or maybe a little bit later than that. But he's one of the best right-handed hitters in the game. He's definitely somebody that deserves a farewell tour. So if you're able to make it out for that, that's certainly something nice to do for him. Um, May 8th, so right after that, the Cardinals go to Wrigley for the first time since Wilson Contreras is signed as a Cardinal. So that's going to be pretty interesting to see how his reception at Wrigley Field. Then jumping all the way to June 16th through the 18th, the Cardinals are in New York for the first time to play the Mets. That's big for me because that's a litmus test of how you do an off season, if that makes sense. It is the John Mozeliak way the right way, or is the Steve Cohen way the right way? And we'll see. We'll have to figure it out. Then the Cards go to London, June 24th and 25th. They play the Cubs. That's pretty exciting. They were talking last night as Team USA destroyed Great Britain. Um, they're really trying to build up that baseball program out there. So that's again with some of the Cardinals going to play for teams Japan and Korea. It's really cool to see that the Cardinals can go and put a face to baseball in London as well. The Yankees come back to town, so the Yankees are at Busch Stadium for their 3 game set, June 30th through July 2nd. And like I mentioned before, the Cardinals famously swept the Yankees last season for the first time in franchise history. So let's hope that they can do that again. The Cubs finally come to St. Louis July 27th through the 30th. So like all the way into the season. The Cubs and Cards face off at Busch Stadium. for 4 games. The Mets come to St. Louis again, another litmus test. We'll see if Stubby Clapp and Pete Alonso can get along. They seem to so far to this point. But then that's also kind of around where the Cardinals Hall of Fame game is, where they announce who made it in, and have that celebration. So that's just some of the noticeable things that I saw on the schedule. Those are games that I'm going to try to make if I can, at least one of each series, but you never know. Life
If
happens.
if you could pick one series from that list, which one? If you could only pick one, which one would it be?
If we're going bucket list, I'd go to London. But if
I know, that would be so cool.
and it's cool that we're playing the Cubs, but probably Otani Trout.
Yeah, I was
I'd
gonna
want to
say that. Yeah,
I want to see those guys. So I'm definitely I know for a fact that I'm buying a ticket to one of those games.
yeah,
But at the same time, um, yeah, if I could, I would go to London. That sounds really.
yeah, for sure. Did you see the Cardinals are doing like that $35 a month, and you get tickets to every single home game?
Yeah, but it's standing room
Yeah, it's
only. Yeah,
standing room only,
which
but like you could go to every single one of these, for $35 a
a
month. I don't
month.
know.
Yeah,
It could be worth it, but I definitely looked into something like that because if Otani and Trout are in town and you just want to go for the full series and it's just like on a whim, there's so
yeah,
many times that I'm in the city for something and I'm like, "Oh, I feel like going to the Cardinal game tonight," and then you don't want to deal with tickets and stuff, but if you have those tickets already on your phone, then you might as well, kind of
yeah,
thing. So it's something I'm gonna probably look more into, but I don't know. I'll definitely want to go to one of those Angels games because I haven't
yeah.
seen Trout in a while, and I've never seen Otani. So
hmm Yeah, there's so many ticketing apps where you can find some decent deals that I typically use, and I figured
yeah,
I'd rather just get decent tickets, for the one time that I'm going than spend $35 a month and not be able to. And that's also because like the photographer and me, like if I am gonna bring my camera, I don't want to be all the way up in the rafters trying to see something from way down there. So I'll
where do
probably.
you like to sit? Where, like, if you're trying to find budget tickets, where do you normally look?
Like the website or the app that I
No,
normally look, or where?
no,
Oh,
like
okay.
seats.
I mean, you can find pretty decent seats like on the app that I use, and they're like $50 for
Where
that
at?
lower
Like
bowl,
where?
first base
Yeah,
side or third
first
base
base.
side.
I
Like
like the
we're
bleachers.
we're going to the second game of the season. Um, those tickets we're on the third base side behind the dugout, maybe like 10 rows up, and they were like $70. Like
That's not bad.
no.
I
Um,
like to buy bleacher seats, even though they're not comfortable. It's nice and
oh
cheap,
no,
and then you
yeah.
always have the potential for a home run ball.
Yeah, yeah,
So
bleachers are definitely a good way to go if you're like just one, and the crowd it's way different. Like
yeah,
it's
yeah,
interesting how that works. It's way different
yeah.
over there. So we'll get into the last thing that we want to talk about. There are some season bets that you can find anywhere that you look for, I guess, season bets. I'm on the Missouri side of things, so I probably won't be placing any of these anytime soon. But Brendan, do what you want on the Illinois side of things.
Yeah.
Um, but 2023, I went to DraftKings to look at different things. So we're going to be talking about team futures, player awards, player futures, and then we'll maybe get into a couple of quick things down at the bottom about around the league. But I don't know. Do you want to take off with some of these bets that we looked up here?
Yeah, we'll look at the team futures. So the odds to win the World Series, which let me pull this up. Actually, go ahead real quick. I want to pull something up.
Well, we kind of talked about it already. I'll talk about the over under. It is at 88 and a half games. And that seems awfully low, even though I do have some questions. I would give a game and a half to the Cardinals. I would say make it 90 win or 90 and a half wins because I know that they do that. Um, because I think that this team could be a 95 win team. Um, but at the same time, you never know whether or not the schedule will catch up to them. So um, I guess we'll have to see. But I would take the definite over on 88.5 games.
Yeah, yeah, I would probably take the over as well. I mean, the Cardinals are a 90-win team. They have to be, right? Like
Yeah.
they have to be. So I would take the over. But I did pull up what I wanted to see. I wanted to see where we rank on the Cardinals' odds to win the World Series because you have written down that the odds to win is plus 1900. So basically, $1 would win you $18, or
Hmm.
$100 would win you $1,800. So,
Yeah.
but I will say the Vegas has changed it to 1,800. So
Hmm.
maybe I don't know, they saw something. But I wanted to see where we ranked among those odds, and imagine the Seattle Mariners winning the World Series. Could you see it? Could you see that happening? Is there a
Um,
chance?
I don't know much about their pitching, but they definitely they put in a good run toward the end of the season last year. If they could continue that and put up some decent offensive numbers and back that up with good pitching, I don't see why not.
Right. I would say the same thing. I wouldn't be crazy surprised, and I think a lot of people would root for him. So, with that being said, the Cardinals are tied with the Mariners in odds, so that the
Hmm.
Mariners are also plus 1,800 to win the World Series. And where that ranks is 2, 4, 6, 8. We are tied with at ninth for the odds to win the World Series. In front of us are the Phillies, Blue Jays, Padres, Braves, Dodgers, Yankees, Mets. Astros are the favorites for plus 600.
Hmm.
So, I mean, that's always a good sprinkle bet. You don't want to put too much money on that because who knows? It's always
Well,
a crap.
who would have bet that the Phillies would even make the World Series last year?
Yeah, you really you never know, and you liked seeing those underdog teams make it the World Series, or yeah, just make the World Series,
Yeah.
but they were so overmatched, and I just
Right.
everyone kind of knew that the Astros were going to win, but yeah, you make it to the playoffs and you just never know. So we hope that we do that. The odds to win the division are negative 120. Not too surprised there. I
Hmm.
obviously would put some money on that. Odds to even make the playoffs, yes, is negative 235. No would be plus 195. So basically, a lot of things would have to go wrong for the Cardinals not to make the playoffs.
Hmm.
And then you already have that one in there. And then we can move into player awards unless you have anything else to talk about the bets with team futures.
Nope. We can talk about some players.
Yeah, so these are pretty fun. I'll also look up where these players rank, but the odds for Arenado to win MVP are plus 1,800. So pretty much the same odds as the Cardinals to win the World Series. And then Goldschmidt has a slight advantage here for plus 1,300, even though I'd make the argument that Arenado has a better chance to win just because Goldschmidt won it last year. I kind of see a better um,
I thought the same thing. Yeah.
yeah, I kind of see more trajectory for Arenado. And then it's interesting. You put your boy Tyler O'Neill. I'm actually not surprised at all that his Tyler O'Neill's odds to win MVP are 10 plus 10,000. So that is definitely a sprinkle bet. I mean, I don't see it happening, but you bet small amount and get a big reward. And then the interesting one, Jordan Walker. He's in all these rookie of the year talks, even though we don't even know if he'll break camp for opening day. But when he does, people are expecting him to win the rookie of the year. He's at plus 800. And
Hmm.
then Liberator is actually still considered a rookie, I guess, because his odds to win Rookie of the Year are plus 3,000. So he's still in the talks of Rookie of the Year, which is interesting. And then it is funny, you put another way out there bet here that
I
actually
just
is,
was putting everyone that was related to the Cardinals. Yeah.
yeah. I just think it's funny that
It's even
O'Neal
a
and,
bet.
yeah, well, yeah, it's even a bet, but like, I would say O'Neal has a better chance to win MVP than Wayno has to win the Cy Young, and
Hmm.
they're both plus 10,000. So it's kind of funny to see like they're I don't know, Vegas thinks there's an equal amount of chance that those two things happen. So I don't know, I think they might have undervalued a little bit of Tyler O'Neill, but who knows.
Hmm.
I do want to look at where those players are ranked real quick. If you have anything to say about that stuff.
No, not really. I mean, in terms of Jordan Walker winning the Rookie of the Year, he obviously needs to break out of camp and make that major league roster. It is funny that they put Tyler O'Neill and Adam Wainwright in those different runnings for those awards. You're right. O'Neill has a better chance of winning, but I still don't think, based on his current performance, that he's even going to come close to
Yeah.
yeah.
So where Goldschmidt and Arenado rank, it's actually interesting. They revalued this,
Okay.
and what I just said kind of makes sense now. They are currently tied at plus 1,400 to
Okay.
win the MVP. So they are tied for seventh, tied for seventh. In front of them is Freddie Freeman, Trey Turner, Fernando Tatis, which is super interesting. He's fourth.
And he's going to miss a good chunk of the season.
I guess yeah. I don't know how much he's gonna miss, but a little bit for sure.
He's still got some games to miss, but I can look it up.
Yeah. And then Mookie Betts, Acuna, and Juan Soto. So pretty interesting. I didn't even I haven't looked at that list yet. The biggest thing is Fernando Tatis. We'll see if he continues to do his thing again, or if he gets ringworm and is suspended again. But
I can't find it quickly. In total, Tatis will miss the team's first 20 games next season.
20 games.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
No. But it's just so weird to watch him try to figure it out in the outfield during spring training. Yeah. I mean, if they're saying that he's going to win MVP as a left fielder, I don't really believe that. I mean, he even struggled playing shortstop. That obviously wasn't his strong suit. It was his bat. And so, I don't know. I shouldn't be the one to talk about Fernando Tatis Jr. because I don't really like him a whole lot. But
yeah, he's gonna have to put up some big numbers to win, and it's just funny that Vegas thinks that he's got a better chance than a lot of these guys. You know, so we'll see.
Well, it also comes into, I guess they're playing the odds of the baseball writers who actually vote on the stuff, or is the players that vote on the stuff? I can't remember which one.
Not the players. Definitely like the writers, I guess.
I think it's the writers. So it's just probably playing the favorites of who the writers like to talk about. Or what's also stupid is some of these players get more attention because they get more clicks. And so the writers tend to write about them more, which is probably another thing that Vegas is trying to base that off of. But just a quick over-unders for Goldschmidt and Arenado. Goldschmidt home runs, 29.5. Over under.
That's what I'm looking at right now. So 2021 he hit 31. Last year he hit 35. He hasn't hit under 30 since 2016. And 2020 was just whatever. I'm not counting that. Since 2016 he had 24. So I mean, you got to take the over, man. You have to.
Yeah.
Right? And,
all right.
And I'd be okay. I'd be okay with being wrong there.
Yeah, I said real quick, and you're like, all right, let's really go into this. Yeah, I'm going over on the home runs. 97.5 for over under on the RBIs.
All right, I'll go with my gut, and I won't do research. Okay, over, I guess.
I'm pretty sure he had 100 and something last year. Obviously, that was an MVP season, but I'm going over. Hits 157.5.
Over.
I would go over as well. Same thing for Nolan Arenado. Real quick, home runs 28.5.
Over.
I would say over too. RBIs, they got him at 100.5.
I'm gonna go under, slightly.
I mean, if Goldschmidt's hitting before him like he is in the WBC right now, I'm going over. And then hits 155.5.
Over.
So what's interesting to me about that is Arenado has less hits for his over/under, and Goldschmidt has more RBIs for his over/under.
Because if Goldschmidt does hit in front of him, he's gonna clear the bases.
Yeah, that's true. Interesting.
Well, I don't know that. Yeah, I don't know how they did that. I'm just guessing.
And I guess we can, after wrapping that up, we'll go quickly through the around the league segment. For around the league, I mean, we talked about the World Baseball Classic already. We didn't talk about Newt Barr and Otani, apparently the greatest friends to ever play the game. These guys have taken baseball by storm during this playoffs or World Baseball Classic. And it's really cool to watch. It's what's really cool, and something that I said at the very beginning of this podcast. I don't know if you remember, is that the Cardinals need to make Lars Nootbaar the face of their organization, just because of the energy that he brings and the charisma,
The
how
marketability.
that. Um, and he's gone and done it himself. I mean, he went to Japan and he's just become the favorite. I mean, every single fan is grinding the pepper. Every single player is grinding the pepper. It's pretty crazy what he's been able to do, and he's been doing it while playing well. It's not like he's just an obnoxious player. He's out there. I think he's batting over 500.
Yeah, he's
He's
leading
got
off too.
he's got a couple of RBIs while leading off.
Diving plays.
Yeah, some of the plays that he's making are insane. They're making Otani celebrate while he's on the mound or in the dugout. It's really cool to watch. And Tommy Edman is out there doing the same thing. He's just a quieter player, but he's flashing the glove. I saw he got some RBIs last night as well for Team Korea. So it's just really cool. Again, we talked about it when they first got announced to go play for those teams, that it's going to be really cool that the Cardinals are representing those nations. And it seems like Newt Barr is just becoming a big part of baseball in general.
Yeah, he's officially gone viral. I know that a lot of the I guess Japanese news stations have been like talking about him and stuff.
Hmm.
And if you think about it, like, so I already knew that a lot of Japan pays attention to the MLB, and I think we're gonna have a lot more Cardinal fans from over there just because of
Hmm.
Nootbaar. They're gonna want to see their guy because he is their guy. He's front and center, plays center field, and he leads off for the Japan team. And I think though Japan, they have to be so appreciative for an American to come over there and play for them and
Hmm.
kind of show the heritage and hype up the team. And he just fits in so well, and it's fun to see. And hopefully, he whispers to Otani like, "Hey, man, I know we can't pay you that much, but
But
like,
if you're
so,
willing to take a cut,
yeah." So there's a glimmer, like a glimmer of
yeah,
hope that Otani will be a Cardinal, but
yeah.
that's so far fetched. I don't
Well,
even want to. That's
that
kind of a
also
bad take, probably, but
that
whatever.
that also goes into them coming to St. Louis at a certain point in the season. It's going to be fun to watch those guys reconnect.
Showcase the city, you
Yeah.
know.
There's not much to showcase. um,
Take him
but
up in the arch. Could you see
yeah,
Shohei up in the arch?
yeah. But there was one other thing that I wanted to say about New. Oh, the other thing that's really cool is that he's not going over there as the big dumb American and just uh being boisterous. He's doing it while assimilating to the culture. And there's a great clip of him psyching up the team with the translator next to him, and it's just really cool that he's able to work with them on their level instead of trying to bring them onto his. And so it's respectful, it's nice, and it's something that I know people don't like it, but I feel like it's emblematic of the Cardinal way. So
Yep, for
um,
sure.
with with that, I think we'll end it. We got a fun episode later this week. That's why we're shooting on Sunday. I think we can say it if you've made it this far. We're going to be interviewing Josh Jacobs of Redbird Rants next week, or like Thursday, I think. That'll come out for the weekend. So stay tuned for that. We're very excited for it. We think we'll have a very good conversation. If you have made it this far and you still haven't, please consider subscribing. We're doing this again twice a week as the season goes on. We're going to be talking everything there is to talk about the Cardinals. I know this episode was jam packed. We had a lot of thoughts, but I appreciate you making it this far. We thank you for joining the club, and we'll see you next time.